Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my movie vlog, and this, the first installment of our Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. You know, why is this program even here? This isn't very different, to be honest with you, from the John Campea podcast, except I have so many of you guys writing to me and saying, we need a video every week, specifically just talking about Star Wars, because you all know Star Wars is the most important movie franchise in my life. It kind of guided the direction that my life took. That's how important Star Wars is to me. And you guys love talking about Star Wars. So we're starting it up here today. First episode of Star Wars Talk Tuesdays, where basically I mentioned a couple things going on in the world of Star Wars, some news and things like that. But this is not, for those of you who remember me on Jedi Council, this is not another Jedi Council. Mainly, I just want to talk about anything going on in the world of Star Wars, past, present, future, that you guys send in to me. How do you get a question or a topic for Star Wars Talk Tuesdays here on the show? It's simple. Just email me at thejohncampeapodcast@gmail.com and just put SWTT in the subject line. Make sure you put SWTT in the subject line so that way I know that your question is specifically for Star Wars Talk Tuesday. So a few big things have happened this week. One is kind of old news. I'm not going to talk about it too much because a couple of the questions that we picked out for this week revolve around the Obi Wan movie, but you know, the reports came out. It's official. They're moving ahead with an Obi Wan movie. It looks like they've got their director lined up, which is great. It's Academy Award nominated director. And there hasn't been any word yet onto whether or not they're going to get Ewan McGregor. I find it very hard to believe that Ewan McGregor won't ultimately end up being Obi-Wan in the Obi-Wan movie. So it's not 100% life or death. This isn't a situation where it has to be Ewan McGregor or nobody at all. They can do it with somebody else, but come on. All other things being equal, you should do it with Ewan McGregor, and I think they ultimately will. But the other big thing that went on in the world of Star Wars that just got announced today, actually, is Omar, Michael K. Williams, fantastic actor, playing probably 100% the most beloved character, Omar, on what a lot of people consider to be the greatest television series of all time, The Wire. Of course, Michael K. Williams has been in a lot of great stuff, and he's wonderful in everything that he does. But Michael K. Williams had a role in Han Solo. He ain't in Han Solo anymore. According to the story, basically, this is what happened. So Michael K. Williams shot all of his stuff for the Han Solo movie. And then all the upheaval, they got rid of Lord and Miller. They brought in Ron Howard. They wanted to change a whole bunch of the movie up. And they decided that one of the things they needed to change was what Michael K. Williams' character was doing. So they needed Michael K. Williams to come in and do a bunch of reshoots to fix the arc of his character. Unfortunately, Michael K. Williams was unavailable because he had other obligations, other shooting schedules for other projects that he had to go and be on. So he couldn't make it in for those reshoots. And so apparently what Lucasfilm and Ron Howard decided was the best thing to do was to just cut the character out of the film. So that's what they've done. So Omar ain't coming. Omar is not. Michael K. Williams is no longer going to be in the Han Solo movie. And that's unfortunate. But, you know, I've heard a few people say to me, and mentioning this on Twitter and on my Facebook, saying, that's disrespectful to Michael K. Williams. Give me a break. Michael K. Williams is an actor. That means, you know, he's labor. It's a job. And the employer decided they don't need that in their product. It's not disrespectful to Michael K. Williams. Michael K. Williams, he's a for-hire actor. I'm sure he got paid for his time. And it's unfortunate that he's not going to be in there because Michael K. Williams is such an unbelievably talented actor. But I've always said this, and I believe it no less when it comes to Star Wars. The story comes first. 100%. The story comes first. And if Ron Howard believes that the story is best served, that if they can't make the changes to Michael K. Williams' character's arc, that the story will then be better served and it'll be a better movie if they just remove the character altogether, then that's what you got to do. And that is 100% what they should do. And, you know, I wish Michael K. Williams was available. I'm sure Michael K. Williams wishes he was available. I'm sure Lucasfilm wishes he was available to come in and do those reshoots to fix the character arc. But he's not. That's life. That's the business world. And if he's not able to come in there, you don't just leave him in, even though it hurts the story. No. First priority is story first. Make the best movie possible. And if they decide that, unfortunately, we got to cut out Michael K. Williams in order to make this the better movie, then that's what you got to do, and I'm all for it. But I'm sure you guys have some very strong opinions about this as well. Jump into the comment section. Maybe you can change my mind. Jump into the comment section and let me know what you guys think. All right, now, for the vast majority of the show, we're really just going to be taking questions that you guys sent in. I picked out 7 questions today from the questions that you guys sent in. If you want a sneak peek, look in the description of this video and you'll see what they are. So let's get started with the first question today. And the first question today comes to us from Chris Mcleod, who writes, "Hey, John, thanks for this. As always, loved your opinions on Jedi Council. Thank you very much. My question is, with all these different rumors about other spin-off movies, Jabba, Yoda, Boba Fett, what would be your dream spin-off movie? Thanks for the great stuff. My dream spin-off movie? None. None. Do other stories that don't revolve characters we already know. The Star Wars universe, you guys are probably sick of hearing me say this, but it's got to be said. The Star Wars universe is big and vast and rich. Why do we have to keep going back to characters we already know? Why shrink the universe? And I'm sorry, you can say, oh, but if you make a movie about this character we know and then introduce other story things, you're expanding the universe. No, you're still shrinking the universe. Why not create new characters, tell new stories? It's a galaxy of 1 million planets. With 1 billion people on each planet, you tell me you can't come up with something cool and great? Over the span of 5,000 or 10,000 years of Star Wars history, you can't come up with other stuff? Don't make me laugh about this Jabba thing. I do not believe for a second that the Jabba film is going to happen. Now, hey, we've seen stupider things. I wouldn't bet the house on there not being a Jabba movie. But I wouldn't bet $1,000, but I would bet $500 that we're not going to see a Jabba movie. Possible. But I really don't think they can be that stupid. Come on. Nobody wants a Jabba the Hutt movie. Come on. That's just ridiculous. I don't believe that for a second. Yoda, come on. What do we need? Look, we're already getting a Han Solo one. And now we're getting an Obi Wan one. Okay, fine. I'm looking forward to both of them. Great. But can we move on to something else now, please? Come on. Let's move on to something else. The universe is just too big and too vast. So if I could have my pick is none of the above. My pick is something new as an anthology movie. Something brand new. That's what I want to see. That's my first vote. But anyway, I'm sure you guys have your thoughts. Jump in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. All right, we move on to the next question now. And the next question comes to us from Michael Gulick, who writes, "Hey, John, what was your first and what was your favorite Star Wars-based video games?" Well, I think my answer for my first is probably going to be the same answer that any of you over like 33, 34, 35 would answer. And that was that Star Wars game. Remember where the graphics were just basically white wires? It was the graphics and you were flying an X-Wing and your lasers were just these basically asterisks that would go out on screen and hit these stick figure TIE fighters coming in. I played that a lot in a bowling alley. My dad used to go bowling and I would go along with my dad just so I could play the video games while my dad was bowling. And that Star Wars video game, man, was absolutely the first Star Wars based video game I ever played. And I'm sure for a lot of you guys that are like maybe under 35, now maybe the first one you played was like one of the Nintendo games, and that's cool, that's great. But my first one was that wireframe Star Wars game. Let me know if you played that game. But my favorite Star Wars game it's an old one, and it's still my favorite Star Wars game to this day, which was, I'm going to call it a tie because they're basically the two sides of the same coin. It was X-Wing and TIE Fighter. I loved X-Wing and TIE Fighter. They were pretty much the best flight simulator games of their time. And they were Star Wars. And it was amazing playing X-Wing. And like you're flying around and the first time you see, oh my God, there's a Star Destroyer out in the distance. You see and you're getting closer and closer. And the Star Destroyer is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're strafing the bottom of it. And so much fun. So much fun. I remember those games so well. And there have been a lot of good, and there have been a number of not so good Star Wars-based video games. But yeah, to answer the question, the first Star Wars-based video game I ever played was that wireframe one. My favorite, still all-time, Star Wars-based video games are X-Wing and TIE Fighter. Those are my favorites. Thanks a lot for the question, man. All right, the next question comes to us from Adam Wellman, who writes, "Hey, John, with the upcoming Obi Wan movie, I told you there were a few Obi Wan questions today. What do you think the percentage chance is of at least getting some voiceover from Liam Neeson reprising his role as Qui-Gon Jinn? Also, what is the percentage chance of seeing him as a Force ghost? With the way Episode 3 left off, one would assume that he has some part in the film. Thanks." Well, yeah. So near the end of Episode 3, Yoda says to Obi-Wan, "I have some training for you. To speak to people in the Force. I have been communing with Qui-Gon Jinn. I'm going to teach you how to commune with Qui-Gon Jinn." So yes, it is not unrealistic to maybe go in with a little bit of expectation that maybe we'll see or at least hear Liam Neeson reprising his role as Qui-Gon Jinn. Because that has been a part of what that was, according to Yoda, that was a part of Obi-Wan's training and what he was supposed to be going off to do. But that doesn't mean they're going to do it. And it doesn't mean that just because Obi-Wan has done that training, and just because Obi-Wan has communed with Qui-Gon Jinn, that doesn't mean they need to put it on film for this story. If they want to save themselves some money and not have to have Liam Neeson come back, if Liam Neeson would even want to come back. But you can, if you want. So I'll do this. Percentage chance that we hear Qui-Gon Jinn's voice, at least a voiceover. I'll say 18%. 18%. Possibility we see a Qui-Gon Jinn Force ghost, I'll go a little lower, 15%. 15%. So I believe it has a chance, but I just wouldn't bet the house on it at this point. So voiceover work, 18% chance. Actually see Qui-Gon Jinn as a Force ghost, I give it a 15% chance. Now remember, we're talking about whether or not I think it will happen, not whether or not I want it to happen, or whether or not I think it would be a good idea to have it happen. You asked the question, what are the chances that I think it will happen? I'm going to go 18% and 15%. That's my guess, but I'm curious. What's your guys' guess? Again, the question is not, do you think it's a good idea? The question is, do you think it will actually happen? Will we actually see or hear Liam Neeson in the Obi Wan movie? Jump into the comments section and leave your guess. Let me know what you guys think. I love talking Star Wars. This is great. Okay. The next question today comes to us from, let's see, what is it? Oh yeah, Andy Newton. And Andy Newton writes, "What do you think of Disney showing no trailer or info for The Last Jedi since Celebration? As Rian Johnson don't want to spoil anything, will we ever get a new one?" Thanks a lot for the question, Andy. And yeah, so Celebration, I believe, was in April. And that's when we got our first trailer. May, June, July. It's been 4 months. I'm cool with it because remember, we're in August, September, October, November. So we're still 4 months away. We're still 4 months away from Star Wars The Last Jedi. Do they need to put out a second trailer by now? I don't think so. 4 months to go until the movie, and we've already had one major trailer. I think that sounds fine. Honestly, I think it sounds fine. So, no, I'm not surprised we haven't got a new trailer yet. I believe we will get a new trailer within the next month, month and a half. I believe we'll get a second one. But honestly, again, 4 months out, what good would dropping another trailer right now do? I mean, really, we've already had the first trailer drop, so that's out of the way. What would have been the point if they dropped another one 3 weeks ago? So look, would I like to have seen it? Absolutely. I want to see a brand new Star Wars trailer every day. But that's not the question, is whether I want one. It's whether do they really need to put one out right now? And I will stand with them on this. I think the answer to that is no. They don't need to have another trailer out just yet. Now, another 6 weeks pass when we get to within like 2.5 months of the movie coming out and we still haven't seen another one, then I start scratching my head a little bit. But as of right now, still 4 months to go till the new movie comes out. I think it's fine. I do. I don't think they're trying to keep anything hidden. I just think there's not a need for another one just yet. And I'm sure we'll get one soon enough. So 4 months to go, nothing to panic over. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, man. And we move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Marcus Dahl, who writes, "Hi, John. Big fan of the channel. Thanks so much, Marcus. With Disney making an Obi Wan Standalone, which villain would make the most sense to have in the movie? Keep up the good work." Well, thanks a lot for the question. I'll tell you right now, and I said this in a video the other day, I'll tell you right now who I do not think should be the villain, and that's Darth Vader. That's Darth Vader. Now, I know there are some Star Wars fans out there, some very smart Star Wars fans out there, including my friend Christian Harloff, who said, oh, well, there's enough wiggle room in there. Because look, my whole point is this. The Star Wars canon makes it pretty clear. The last time Obi-Wan and Vader saw each other was when they battled on Mustafar. When Darth Vader was just the learner, okay? And then he meets him on Death Star and says, now I am the master. Okay, so that's fine. The clear indication there is that, oh, okay, so yeah, the last time Obi-Wan and Vader saw each other was at the Battle of Mustafar. Fine. Now, there are some people out there who are trying to play loophole and saying, oh, but okay, if you look at this statement a certain way, like Darth Vader once says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. Maybe that means they talked to each other later on, and maybe, I mean, you can do a lot of loopholing. You can try to bend what was said in the Star Wars movies. You can try to bend it and reshape it to fit a narrative where Darth Vader could be the villain in Obi-Wan, but I think you'd be breaking the spirit of it. Clearly, the intention of the original Star Wars canon stuff was that the last time Obi-Wan and Vader saw each other was at the Battle of Mustafar. To now bend it and change it up and try to find little, semantic loopholes to force a Darth Vader in there, I just don't think that serves the story. I don't think it serves it at all. Get something else. Get something new. Get something fresh. So when you ask me the question, who do I think would make the most sense as the villain? I believe a new character, a new threat, something different that Obi-Wan has to face, whether it's because there's some need in the galaxy or whether because it's an adventure Obi-Wan has to undertake in his responsibilities in protecting young Luke. Whether that means staying on Tatooine or leaving the planet for a while, whatever. I would just like to see a new threat. Maybe Black Sun. Huh? For those of you who are immersed in old Star Wars legend stuff, all the novels and everything and crap like that, Black Sun would be something pretty cool to bring in to canon if they wanted to do that. Like, what if he had to actually stand up against a crime organization? And because whatever the crime organization is threatening, sections of Tatooine that could directly affect Luke and his well-being. And then so Obi-Wan's got to go, okay, I got to take on Black Sun then. That would be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind seeing that. So bring in something new, even if it's something new from the old expanded universe stuff, the Legends stuff, bring it on in. Bring it on in. Try that as something new. I just don't want to see Grand Moff Tarkin actually survive the Death Star explosion, and now he's back. Or sorry, Grand Moff Tarkin, the Death Star explosion hasn't happened yet. Grand Moff Tarkin, hasn't... he's got eyes on Tatooine for some reason. No, come on, we've had enough Grand Moff Tarkin. We've had enough Vader. We've had enough this. We had enough that. Bring in somebody new. I would be all for somebody new. So yeah, that's my thought on it at any rate. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Vinay Lala, who writes, "Hey John, big fan from India." Well, thanks so much, man. My question is, are you concerned with Colin Trevorrow directing Episode 9? Personally, I thought Jurassic World was a forgettable movie, and with Book of Henry also not up to the mark, I am hesitant trusting him with such a big project. Thanks a lot for the question, man. Look, I think Colin Trevorrow is going to be just fine. First of all, what were you expecting from a Jurassic World? It's not like Jurassic World is a cinematic universe filled with iconic, rich characters and stuff like that. It's what happens if dinosaurs were running rampant. That's what the movie's going to be. And I thought Colin Trevorrow made a fun, big budget, and hugely financially successful movie about dinosaurs running amok. I mean, I don't know how much depth we were expecting out of that. He just made a good, fun movie with giant dinosaurs running amok. And that's what he did. And so I don't think Steven Spielberg would have made much different of a film at that point, to be honest. Obviously, if Steven Spielberg directed it, would have been a little bit better, sure. But I don't know what we're expecting. I mean, it is what it is. So I was perfectly fine with, I enjoyed Jurassic World. I thought Jurassic World was fun. Was it as good as the original Jurassic Park? No, but that's fine. It was a good, big, fun, blockbuster film and was hugely successful, massively successful. Book of Henry, look, he rolled the dice. A lot of times people criticize filmmakers and say they don't take risks. And if you look at Book of Henry, Colin Trevorrow took a lot of risks. But when you take risks, a number of them do not work out. That's why they're called risks. And for us to poo-poo on him because he took some risks and it didn't work out, well, then basically you're sending the message to filmmakers, never take risks. Never take risks. No, Colin Trevorrow took a lot of narrative risks with Book of Henry and thematic risks. It wasn't a paint-by-the-numbers movie whatsoever. He tried some very cool things and they didn't quite work out. I agree. I didn't like Book of Henry. I didn't. But I respect him as a filmmaker that he went out on the ledge and he took some thematic and some narrative risks. That didn't work out and that's fine. But just be careful about condemning a filmmaker for not having his risk work out. Otherwise, the message you're sending to other filmmakers is never take risks. Only do the sure thing. Only follow the formula. Don't take a risk. And I would never want to tell a filmmaker like Colin Trevorrow that. And then a lot of people are just forgetting about Safety Not Guaranteed. I'm sorry. Safety Not Guaranteed is a wonderful independent film. That movie's wonderful. If you have any doubts that Colin Trevorrow knows how to take some ragtag characters and make a really cool narrative and a fun story out of it, Safety Not Guaranteed. I'm still surprised how many people have not seen Safety Not Guaranteed. Do me a favor. Do not form an opinion about whether or not you think Colin Trevorrow is a good guy to direct Star Wars until you have sat down and watched Safety Not Guaranteed. Because to me, when I look what he's able to do narrative-wise in a movie like Safety Not Guaranteed, and then I see what he can do with a big blockbuster spectacle in Jurassic World, which is incredibly successful, I think, yeah, now look, is Colin Trevorrow my first choice to direct Episode 9? No, he's not. But as a Star Wars fan, I personally am very, very comfortable with him directing it. And let's see what he does. And maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't work. But I'm comfortable enough with Lucasfilm taking a chance on him. I think he has shown us enough. From small budget storytelling narrative to big budget blockbuster spectacle, he's shown us enough that he's worth taking a risk on. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what he does. No guarantee it'll work, but let's see. All right. We move on now to the final question of the day. And the final question today comes to us from Tyler Birdman, who writes, "Hey, John, huge fan of your channel. Thank you so much, Tyler. I appreciate that very much. When Star Wars The Force Awakens came out, everybody thought it was a good, if not great. But in the last year and a half since its release, many people have started to not like the film, even people hating it and thinking it's the worst Star Wars film. Do you think the film is not as good as everybody initially thought? In my opinion, I think 5 to 10 years is going to be a forgotten film in the saga. Completely disagree. Completely disagree. The Force Awakens. Now, I was at the world premiere of The Force Awakens, and I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it the first time I saw it. But unlike my experience with the prequel films, where I saw it, and then every time I saw it after that, I liked it less and less and less and less and less. The more times, and I think I ended up seeing The Force Awakens in theaters like 10 times or something like that. The more I saw The Force Awakens, the more and more and more I liked it. John Schnepp and I would actually we'd slip out of the Collider video offices, go across the street, Burbank 16, catch a matinee of The Force Awakens, and we'd do it again the next week. And we saw it a couple times. And every time I've seen The Force Awakens, honestly, I've liked it more and more. I think it's a really good, exceptional movie with some flaws. It's got some flaws in it, absolutely. As a matter of fact, as much as I've liked the movie more and more every time I've seen it, I've hated the flaws more and more at the same time. For instance, that whole Rathtar scene with the big rolling monsters and the tentacles things on Han's ship, stupid scene. Should never have been in the movie. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible scene. Takes me out of the movie completely every single time. I just did not like it. Do not like it at all. I also think they could have handled the death of Han Solo better than they did. I think that could have been done much better. But overall, I love the new characters. I love Rey. I love Poe. I love Finn. The whole mystery of looking for Luke Skywalker, the way the movie ended, I really like this film. Now, I have never thought, and I still don't think, that it's as good as any of the original 3 trilogy. To me, the movies go, Return of the Jedi is the best, Empire Strikes Back, and then the original Star Wars. So those are the 3 best. The original trilogy is the best. I'd say The Force Awakens is the 4th best Star Wars movie so far. I'd have Force Awakens and then Rogue One, which I love, and then the prequel garbage comes after that. And I know many of you do like the prequels, and that's awesome. I celebrate that you like the prequels. That's awesome. I don't, but I celebrate that you do. Yeah, so no, look, it's also the most successful film of the last decade. No film in the last decade has been nearly as successful. I think it's been more than 10 years since Avatar. Anyway, it's one of the biggest blockbusters of all time. It is one of the most successful films of all time. So, no, I don't think it's going to be forgotten. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate it more and more. Yes, the people who didn't like The Force Awakens, that's cool. If you're one of the people who don't like it, all film is subjective, even Star Wars films, and that's the most beautiful thing about movies. And that's great if you don't like it. That's totally fine. But I just think the people who didn't like it have been more vocal. I don't think there are any more people who like that movie less. I love The Force Awakens. I think it's fantastic. I appreciate it more every time I watch it. And I think there are more people like me than people who are the vocal opponents to the film. And I think the ratings kind of prove that out. The fan ratings and the fan responses prove that out. So yeah, and it's cool. Look, every movie, no matter how good, is going to have people who honestly don't like it. Every movie that's terrible are going to have people who honestly do like it. And that's the wonderful thing about movies, and that's the wonderful thing about Star Wars. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for this first installment of what is going to be a weekly Star Wars Talk Tuesdays here on the John Campea YouTube channel. Thanks so much. Again, I know this is basically just the John Campea podcast, except all Star Wars, but who cares? We love Star Wars. I love talking about Star Wars, and I'm so glad that you guys joined me for this. Hey, listen, guys. One of the things that makes this channel possible is my Patreon supporters. And as a matter of fact, I'm also going to put this show out. Star Wars Talk Tuesdays is also going to go out as a podcast, but the audio-only podcast is only available to my Patreon supporters. How do you become a Patreon supporter? It's simple. Look in the description of this video or look at this graphic, and you'll see a link to my Patreon page that'll give you more information. Go and check that out. And while you're here, guys, take a second and click on the subscribe button. Become a subscriber to my YouTube channel, and make sure you're following me on Twitter, simply at John Campea. That'll do it for me, guys, for this week's and the first inaugural Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. We'll be back again next week. And of course, I got more videos coming out today and tomorrow. Make sure you hang around my YouTube channel. All the great stuff going on. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Until next time, bye-bye.